I was at a college just a few weeks ago speaking to some police foundation students in police sciences, right? And one of my questions I always ask is why? Why do you want to get into policing or law enforcement? And the answers certainly varied, but one of the most common answers was just the job security, the fact that they
Mm.
have a great pay and pension and benefits. But I'm going to say this as well. There's an emergency services wing to this particular college, and the fire prevention or the I say the kids, some of them are taller than me. The people who wanted to be firefighters, they were on lunch at the same time. And a lot of them had the exact same answers. They wanted to be firefighters because of job security and the pay and it's good benefits. And listen, what do you have to say about this anyways? Should this we be concerned about this?
It seems like it's sort of a hollow journey to dedicate your adult life to something simply because it has good benefits and a good pension. Now, having said that, as a guy who joined in my early 20s, I had no sense of what pensions were. I didn't really know what it meant, how it would affect me later, and I would have joined anyway if there wasn't a pension. The fire department for me wasn't about having something that would look after me later. It was something that mattered at the time. These are professions now. They aren't just vocations. These are professions. And, if you ask a bunch of kids who are in engineering school, what's your reason for doing this? And if they say, if 99 out of 100 of them say, well, I'd like the idea of having a good job that pays well and I can look after myself in my retirement, we think nothing of it. So I think you got to kind of color that with what people's motives are. And they don't even always tell you either. What do you think of that?
I grew up around police officers, right? I come from a policing family, like the real blue blood. So I kind of knew early on what the job entailed. And when
Mhm.
I first started, I never thought about pension. I never thought about benefits. I never thought about that stuff either. And it's funny because at some of the shifts, some of the training days, there would be meetings about pension, and they would tell the newer officers, "Listen, you might not care, you might not want to attend these meetings, but this is going to be important to you one day."
Yeah. Most of us who do the full career will retire better than people who stayed in the corporate world because it's just so wonderfully predictable.
What really used to bug me is there was a lot of officers, and I never wanted to be this person, but there was a lot of officers that had maybe 25 years on the job and they were going to retire at 30, right? Full pension. And all they spoke about was 5 more years left, 4 more years. It's like the countdown, it was a never-ending countdown. I don't know, I didn't like that. Do you know what I mean? The fact that
Oh, oh,
that's what the
it's
job became. It became nothing but a countdown until you could get a
like a prisoner scratching dashes into the walls for how much time they have to serve almost, right? Like it's a super unhealthy way to approach your career. But yeah, you do see it. And the other thing, you know, is it's kind of what they call the golden handcuffs, right? Is a person with 25 years on the job may be very ready to retire. Many people are. I think 25 years is a long time in public safety. Their pension numbers don't add up and they can't retire when they want to. So, of course, they have to do that full 30 pop to make it work, make sort of sense, right? So, and I think sometimes people will do that to justify that this job that made such good sense for the first while isn't something they'd be doing now if they had a choice and could get at their pension. We also, we're colored by the American culture in so many ways, and we see a lot of police and fire shows, and we think that's the reality. And they do the 20 years and out thing there, right? Well, that's great. You can't live on a 20-year pension in Canada. It doesn't generate enough revenue.
You brought up a really interesting point there. The fact that what you see on TV, and I think a lot of these young people that are looking to get into emergency services, the positions, the roles are really glorified in media, but also on television.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the things. Actually, I was teaching a fire service pre-service program at Seneca College in the '80s, and that movie Backdraft came out.
Right.
Wow, we were just inundated with students that wanted to go through that program and thought being a fireman would be a pretty cool thing. And that movie, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that movie is not what the fire department is like. And one of the things about it that from a cinematic perspective that they did a brilliant job of having really big fires and rollovers going on the ceiling level and all that good stuff. But in a fire, you can't actually see anything. You can't. There's so much smoke that you can't see where the fire is. one of the things that you do in a fire, especially like in a house fire or something, is you close your eyes in the heavy smoke so you can hear where the fire is or feel it better with your skin. That would make for lousy television, but that's actually the more truth of it in terms of operation. So I think I think it's romanticized to a degree, and also the whole public hero thing. I've never been comfortable with that. I get the impression you weren't either. Yeah.
Well, listen, I gotta admit, when the movie Backdraft came out, there was a small part of me, and I would never admit this to family, that thought about maybe switching over to the fire service instead of policing, but I didn't wanna be, the shame of the
No,
family. How do you like that?
no, no,
Listen,
you wouldn't want to be that guy, not in a family that this is such a big thing
right,
for you. And
right.
one of the things that bonds police and fire is that we can get killed at work. And we, of course, don't do it on purpose. But the major difference between police and fire is that police have to be prepared to take a life at work. I mean, of course, they all go into it hoping they never need to, right? But that's a different cultural thing than fire guys getting killed in groups of 3 or 4 because of some bad command decision where a building came in and got them or something like that. But it does bond us in a way that there's an understanding and a reality, and I think there's a little bit of mutual respect. I've had lots of police officers just as we're ready to go into a place that's blowing out the second floors and we're going in the front. They say there is no way I would do that. At the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
time, fire guys go, you actually pull your gun out and clear a warehouse that you don't know if there's people in there that are looking to kill you. I'd never do that.
Yeah. I just want to mention one thing before we close off. I brought up the point where I said there's too many people that are waiting to end their career off, right? They're counting
Sure,
down the
yeah.
days. You got 25 years, and all they think about is the next 5 years, and they just want to finish it. Having said that, there's also a lot of people who don't do that. They're very, very proud. Their career has flown by, and they don't want to leave after 30 years. They want to leave after 35, 40 years. They love their career. And listen, I'm very, very thankful for them as well. So I mean, it's all types. I don't want to just
Well,
put
and
everybody into one category.
the thing with these careers, and we have to, I dial it down just a bit. Is as much as you might love the job will never love you back. There may be days that it loves you back, but over the course of your career, it simply won't. And let's also remember that the people that are, the 25 in people that are saying, 5 years to go, the police service that they joined no longer exists. The fire
Right,
service
right.
I joined no longer exists. When I could tell you about the way we used to do business in the 80s would be so unsafe now. The Ministry of Labor lock everybody up because it's just so unsafe. And some people missed that era because in the time that was unsafe, there wasn't a whole lot of policy. There wasn't an HR. HR was called personnel in those days, right? They had no power. They couldn't, suspend somebody for saying something dumb. So I think that the culture has shifted, and sometimes it doesn't shift at the same rate that the people in it are able to shift. I mean, I'm willing to cut some slack on that mindset because of that reality.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Listen, Dave, it's always a pleasure to chat, and we'll continue this conversation another time. Any parting words? Any last words?
Yeah, sure, I do. One of the things that I find that the public safety does that you really can't find anywhere else is it can impart a sense of meaning on being somewhere at the right time and being and responding to something with trained, qualified, capable people and fixing stuff. That you sometimes you'll hear the old guys saying, well, I didn't sign up for this job to do social work. The truth is, anytime people have created a problem for themselves or something exists that needs to be fixed by government employees, the people responding are doing social work. And that's something, if you open your mind to that thing, it makes the whole thing a whole lot easier to process. For me, I got I found great meaning and relevance in service. That mattered to me way more than being a sales guy making 2 or 3 times the money. I would have hated every minute of that. The job mattered and it needed to be done by people who knew what they're doing. And I like that part myself.
Right, right. Listen, brother, thanks for sharing. Have a fantastic day.
Always a pleasure. Got all the time in the world for you.